how do you manage a team well remotely? And I guess actually, if you could come at it from the sort of like, how do we notice how people are doing and what they're experiencing from behind a screen?
Yes, totally understand this. I've worked in a remote role for over 5 years now, so I've also lived it in an embodied sense. I think the big risk with remote teams is invisible strain. So similar to just what Andy said, it's like we don't have the casual cues of spending time and embodied space with one another. So you have to make well-being visible on purpose, right? Which means that you need to be a very clear and competent communicator. There should be structured check-ins, right? So not just checking in what the work is looking at, but what capacity is looking like. A little bit to what we spoke of before, right? Recognizing that everybody has lives and shit happens in our lives. So understanding how you can sort of build trust within your teams so that you can be open to sharing if, you've got a little bit more on your plate this week. And really normalize that fluctuating capacity, right? We know, especially with creative work, that it's not linear, and that's especially in high pressure industries too. So it can be super busy and then it can slow down for a bit. So recognizing that we can maybe move with these grooves, but if you're leading a remote team, you really need to guide that. I think another thing that you have to be explicit about is expectations, things around working hours, response time, and what urgent actually means, because this might look different to everybody. And so you want to get clear on what it means for you, for your team, what you're able to tolerate and how you're able to work best together. You want to also watch out for silence, because that's really when we start to notice disengagement. And that shows up generally as people being sort of quiet and checked out and not necessarily so loud and outspoken. I think another thing is that you want to really model boundaries. Okay. So you might say, I don't expect you to be on call, all day and all night. But if you're emailing at midnight, your team is going to get different cues from that. So recognizing how you're showing up with your own boundaries and allowing other people to acknowledge and respect theirs too.
Yeah, great. Tara, you've managed remote teams?
Yeah. I think, and I mean, maybe it's just how I approach leadership. I am the same person on Monday morning as on a Saturday night. I'm very open, very transparent, very real with my team. And so I'll tell them like, hey, yesterday I was like, I just got off a flight. I lost my laptop. I'm a bit discombobulated, but like I'm here on my mobile, and that's me today. And so I role model being open about when I'm having dips and flows. Also on the boundaries thing, I tell people I really vary my schedule a lot because I want to be at my kids' soccer game, but I also need to have really big blocks of focus time when I have something and really need to be on. And I'm just going to work until it gets done. And that's what works for me. So when I send you something, I do not expect something in return, but I'm open and transparent about it. But I think in order to build that relationship with someone where you can, have them share how they're doing. Yes, there's signs. You can see where people are disengaged or not doing things, and you can kind of poke there. But I would love for people to share where they're at as well. And I want to build that relationship. And I do think when you come together as a team in real life, a lot of that trust building and just that exchange of energy and getting to know people as people and building those relationships really sets that foundation. About 4 years ago, I had a situation where I was a leader in a team, and then I had new managers, and then all the ICs were underneath. And it was like, crickets chirping in Slack. No one felt safe to share up to those managers how they were doing. Even if the managers asked, they didn't hear anything because they didn't know each other. They didn't know each other. They didn't have a relationship. You can't build it on Zoom very easily. And I just said, you know what? We are all getting in a big van and we're going to a share house for a week. And people were like, okay, great offsite idea. But you know what? People taught each other, how to paint, and they sang guitar at midnight to the top of their lungs with a few beers, and we made breakfast together, and they got to know each other. And then going online was like, oh yeah, he's just like that. And oh yeah, we talked about this, and I shared this a bit about my background, and hey, you asked about the thing, and the trust just, explodes when you're able to build those relationships. I'm an oversharer, so I tried to build the trust first, which goes a long way. But I think the in-person connections is important, and also just being on the lookout for some of those signs. So I have had people where I'm like, hey, you know, we haven't seen you for a while. Is everything going okay? You know, and asking them, you know, what it is, because there are expectations and the team feels like it's unfair if you don't do your thing. But I also am very, very flexible with time off. I say to people, you can have any time off as long as it's planned for and you let me know. No one makes a memory behind their laptop. They make it at the top of a hill or down a rapid, you know, with a helmet on. And I think you should do those things. And so if you know, aren't doing well and do need time off, you really, really need to take it. The work will always be there. You're the most important. And somehow people are then given permission to talk about how, you know, we all go through ups and downs and when you do need to take a step back. So yeah, that's my approach.